Alright, I'm having to record this with my phone, so I apologize. I cannot get any of my software to work this week. So we left off with talking about the augmented matrix and taking all the coefficients and constants from the system and translating it into what we call an augmented matrix with all the coefficients in order and then the constants. So to solve the system, we must perform what are called matrix operations in order to create what is called an augmented identity matrix. So the identity matrix, you can read more about it in your textbook, but all you really need to know is that it's a 3x3 matrix with ones down the diagonal and zeros everywhere else. So you see the 1, and the 1, and zeros everywhere else. And there's going to be 3 numbers in that last column. So A, B, and C can be any values. So once you have what's called the identity matrix, the answer for X is the first number, the answer for Y is the second number, and the answer for Z is the third number. Now your textbook goes into how to do these matrix operations by hand, and if you do take further algebra classes, you might learn how to do that by hand, but we are not going to do this by hand. The process of performing the matrix operations is called the Gauss-Jordan method or the Gauss-Jordan method. We are not going to learn how to do this by hand. We're going to let the calculator do the work. So your homework's going to say to use the Gauss-Jordan method, but that really means for us to just let the calculator do the work. So your other half sheet that was purple, you can tape that down in your notebook. This will be another EX page. So I kind of trimmed mine out and taped it down. We're going to go through these steps. You will need a graphing calculator to do this. And I brought my newer one with me to make this video. So it says the first step is to write the augmented matrix and find the dimensions. We're going to use the example we were just looking at. We have those same coefficients and constants, and the dimensions are 3 by 4. Remember, it's rows by columns. So once you've done that, in the calculator, you're going to push second, and then a button that has the word matrix above it. An arrow over twice to the word edit. So those are the buttons, second, and then the X inverse button, and then you're going to push the arrow over twice. So let's see what that looks like. We're going to turn the calculator on. We're going to push second. When you push second, you should see that up arrow. And then above the X -1 key is the word matrix. So we're going to push that button, and then you'll see the screen that you see on your purple page. And we're going to hit the over arrow twice to the word edit. So we're going to edit and then matrix A. Then we're going to push enter. The first thing it wants are the dimensions. So the next step is to input the dimensions of your matrix and the elements, pushing enter between each one. So our dimensions are 3 by 4. So we're going to push 3, enter, 4, enter. It will make you a 3 by 4 matrix. Now on the older calculators you won't see that fourth column, but it is there. And then we're going to enter the numbers just as we see them in our matrix. It goes across, and we're going to push enter between each one. So we're going to push 1, enter, 3, enter, 2, enter, 1, enter. Then it goes to the next row. 2, enter, 1, -1. When you push negative, make sure to use the negative button, not the minus. So -1, enter, and then 2, and then 1, enter, 1, enter, 1, enter, 2, enter. So if you have a newer calculator, you're going to see them all at the same time. If you have an older calculator, again, that fourth row will be or the fourth column will be kind of hidden on the other screen, but you should have all your entries. Should look something like that on the older calculator. Those 3 lines just indicate that there's more over there, and you can hit over to see it. We're going to put the coefficients and constants in a 3 by 4 matrix. And again, push enter between each one. From there, you're going to push second mode or quit to go back to your home screen. So you push the second button, and right next to the second button is the mode button, and it says the word quit above it. So we're going to push quit. That takes you back to what we call the home screen. Now from there, we're going to push second matrix again and arrow over once to the word math, then all the way down to what's called RREF. That stands for row reduced echelon form. You don't really need to know that, but that's what the RREF stands for. So again, we're going to hit second, and then the X inverse button, which is matrix, over one time to math, and all the way down to RREF, option B, RREF. You're going to push enter. That's going to bring it to your home screen. So down to RREF. The RREF should be on the home screen. Now you push second matrix one more time. Second, the X with the -1 for matrix. Hit enter to choose A. So we're going to stay on the names option. Hit enter for A. And it should say RREF with matrix A. And then you can close that parentheses if you want to. You don't have to, but you can. That way it looks like that, RREFA. And then hit enter. And what's going to happen is you should see the identity matrix like we just talked about, and 3 numbers. And those 3 numbers are the answer for X, Y, and Z in that order, X, Y, Z. So our answers, X equals 2, Y equals -1, and Z equals +1. You'll enter your answers in that order, 2, -1, +1. Now, if you want to learn more about how this happens and how these numbers come to be, again, you can read more in your textbook in section 5.2 of college algebra, but we really don't need to know that for this course. That's a different course called linear algebra. If you take that, great. If not, it's not a big deal. Alright, so let's try this a few more times. Again, I apologize for having to use my phone for this. I'm trying to make it as smooth as possible for you. Alright, so example 2. It says x minus y plus 5z equals -6, and 3x plus 3y minus z equals 10, and x plus 3y plus 2z equals 5. So notice that all your x's are lined up, all your y's are lined up, all your z's are lined up, all your equal signs, and then all your constants. So it's ready to go into an augmented matrix. So for example 2, it's going to be 1, then -1, +5, and -6. The next row is going to be 3, 3, -1, +10. The last row is going to be 1, 3, 2, and 5. So this creates what's called your augmented matrix. You always want to write that down. The dimensions are 3 rows by 4 columns. So I'm going to ask for that on your test, is to give me the augmented matrix and the dimensions. Again, this is called the augmented. Augmented kind of means put together. Augmented matrix. The dimensions are 3 by 4, 3 rows, 4 columns. So let's put that in the calculator. All right, so we're going to go back to second matrix. We're going to go over to edit, hit enter. It already has the dimensions 3 by 4, so you don't have to change that. We just need to change the numbers. So 1, enter, -1, enter, 5, enter, -6, enter, 3, enter, 3, enter, -1, enter, 10, enter. Remember to push enter between each one. 1, enter, 3, enter, 2, enter, and 5, enter. And what I always do is before I exit the screen, I just double check that my numbers all match. They're in the right spots. The negatives are correct. I didn't mistype anything. And then you're going to push second mode or quit to get back to the home screen. Then second matrix. This time we're going to choose math. All the way down, down, down. We're going to use our down arrow to RREF. Hit enter. And then second matrix one more time. This time the name A, and then you can close the parenthesis if you want to. They're right above the 8 and the 9. You don't have to, though. Rrefa, hit enter. Then again, you see the identity matrix and 1, 2, -1. So the answer should be 1, 2, -1. In the order you see it on the screen. X, Y, Z. Alright, so let's look at another one. Let me get situated here. This one has some missing terms. Let me fold the paper. Give me just a second. I'll turn it over here. Alright, this one has some missing terms. So if we're looking at example 3, we've got -x plus y equals -1. Notice it does not have a z term. We have y minus z equals 6. It does not have an x term. And then we have x plus z equals -1, and it does not have a y term. So when we make our matrix, we need to put zeros for those missing terms. So for example 3, we have, you can do the brackets if you want to, we have -1, +1, and then 0 for z, and -1 is the constant. Then we have 0 for x, 1 for y, -1 for z, and 6 is the constant. Then we have 1 for x, 0 for y, 1 for z, and -1 is the constant. So notice anywhere there was a missing term, every equation needs an x, y, and z. If one is missing, we put a 0. So again, the dimensions are 3 by 4. And you can pause the video and practice putting this in the calculator by yourself, or you can just continue following me. If you do this enough times, the steps kind of make sense, and your brain will get used to what you're doing. If not, just keep practicing. Alright, so second matrix. Over to edit first, we have to put in our new numbers. The dimensions are good, so just push enter. -1, enter, 1, enter, 0, enter, -1, enter, 0, enter, 1, enter, -1, enter, 6, enter, 1, 0, 1, -1. So again, before you leave the screen, just double check that all your numbers match your augmented matrix. I find it very valuable to go from the equations to the matrix before you put it in the calculator. That way you can visually double check everything. Then second, quit. Then you're going to go to second matrix again, over to math, all the way down to Rref, the option B. And then second matrix one more time, hit enter for matrix A. Close the parentheses if you want to. And then you should see the identity matrix and 3, 2, -4. So those should be your solutions. 3, 2, -4. Alright, so we're going to do this one last time. Let me get situated here. Example 4 is out of order, so we're not in standard form. We have x equals -y plus 1. We have z equals 2x, and we have y equals -2z minus 2. So this one's all over the place. We need to put the equations into standard form. So on the first equation, I'm going to add y to the other side to move it over. So the first equation is going to become x plus y. And if you want to, you can put plus 0z equals +1. So all I did was add y to the other side. On the second equation, I'm going to subtract 2x and move it over. That's going to leave 0 as my constant. So this is going to become -2x. There's no y term, so I'm going to put plus 0y plus z, that didn't move, and there's no constant, so I'm going to put equals 0. So again, I moved the 2x to the other side. I put 0 for y and 0 for the constant. Anything missing gets a 0. On the last one, I'm going to move the 2z to the other side by adding it. I'm going to leave the -2 over there, and it's missing an x. So it's going to be 0x plus y. Then it's going to be plus 2z, I moved it to the other side, equals -2. So again, it started very out of order. I reorganized it, put in zeros for anything missing, and now it's much easier to get my augmented matrix. 1, 1, 0, 1, -2, 0, 1, 0, and finally 0, 1, 2, -2. So again, out of order, fix the order, put them all in standard form, put zeros where anything was missing, and then translate it into the augmented matrix. The dimensions again are 3 by 4. I'm pretty sure that's all we're going to have in this course. Again, if you take another algebra course, then you'll see higher dimensions, but this is all we work with for this class. All right, in the calculator, one more time. Second matrix, over to edit. The dimensions are already there. I'm going to put in my numbers. 1, enter, 1, enter, 0, enter, 1, enter. -2, enter, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 2, -2. Hit enter every time to change those elements. So there's my matrix. I'm double checking that it matches what I wrote down. Once you're good there, you can quit. Second matrix again, over to math. Down, 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 down. Rref. Second matrix one more time. Hit enter for A. Close parentheses. You should see the identity matrix and -1, 2, -2. So my answers are -1, 2, -2. All right, so just keep practicing that. I don't find it very difficult, but it is a lot of buttons to push in the calculator, so just keep practicing that. The last thing in your notes are the special cases. Again, you might see this on the homework, but I'm not going to put it on the test. The special cases are that last little bit of the purple handout. So you can have an inconsistent system with no solution, and that happens when you have any row of zeros. So any row of zeros when A, B, and C are not 0 means that something went wrong. So this is a row of zeros, but A, B, and C are not zeros. You have no solution. So if you want to see a couple examples of that, it's in your college algebra book, page 523, number 41 and 42. You also have a dependent system with infinite solutions. And so this is when you've got all kinds of numbers you can plug in. And that's when you're getting your answer, but what you have is not the identity matrix. So anytime this is not the identity matrix, that means you have infinite solutions. Again, if you want to see an example of that, same page, number 43 and 44. These are not something I'm going to test you over, but there might be one on the homework that's either no solution or infinite solutions. And that finishes section 5.2 from the college algebra book. This is homework 6C. Hopefully you'll find it pretty simple, and just keep practicing those steps in the calculator.